Alright, so this is going to be an installation video of an Injen cold air intake on a 2004 Honda Accord V6. This is the box that the air intake comes in. I believe the model number is RD1482P. It's for the V6 model. Let's let the box show you how it is. So of course you got your connector from the throttle body to the air intake. You got a new hose, and a mount, and instructions. And then have the intake tube itself. And then you also have the filter. So I'm going to show you how to install the filter, and I've never done it before, so I'll just be learning along the way. But the first step is to remove the old intake system, so we'll get started on that. Alright, so to remove the stock air box, you just have to take off this bolt right there, or undo that clamp, and then there's a bolt right there, and one right there, and I believe that's it. I may encounter more that I don't know about, and then you just have to get the air intake tube out of the bumper as well. So I'll start loosening up those and start removing the intake. Alright, so I got the stock air box out except for the air box tube, the intake tube. It's pretty simple. You really just have to take off this upper part first. Just take off these screws and detach this, detach that hose or pipe from that connection, and then to remove the lower half, you just remove this nut right there, and then there are two other ones. This nut, which goes down right next to the battery, and then this one right here, which goes right there. So it is pretty simple. Didn't take very long to get off. For the other part though, I may need to remove the front bumper. Hopefully I won't have to, but right now it looks like I will. So that's the next part that needs to be taken off. Alright, so I finally got the old air intake out. This is the piece that's in the bumper. And it took me probably an hour and a half just to get the old piece off. I was going to remove the bumper, but I have this strip on here, this adhesive strip. For some reason I didn't put it on there, but it pretty much prevents me from removing the bumper since it's glued on right there. So what I ended up doing was popping out this wheel well, and then you have to undo some bolts on the bottom and some screws right here, and then I also took out this front vent right there. There's just two screws on the back end, so that I could get up in there and undo the two bolts that are down in the bumper. So I got those off, and that's down in the hole where it was. So now the next step is just to put on the new air intake. It probably would have been easier if I was able to get off the front bumper, but got it off anyway. So, and to get the old intake tube out, I just pulled it down and then stuck it down through the guard at the bottom. So now it's time to put on the new intake. Alright, so after you get the old intake off, the next step is to remove the PCV tubes. So you got this tube that's normally connected right here. So you pull that one off, and then there's those two tubes that are connected right there. One of them connects right here. The other one on this side connects to this small tube right there. And so you basically just remove those tubes and then connect them together with the, actually I need to take them apart real quick. Alright, so you just connect those two with this 1/4 inch coupler. Just plugs into both tubes and then you put them together. Alright, so the next thing to do is to relocate the ground wires. So if you can see, the ground wire on the upper left is going to be moved over to that hole, that empty screw hole that the old intake was connected to. So I'm just going to unscrew that ground wire and move it over to the other side. Alright, so the next step, after I relocated the ground, is to just screw this into the hole that the ground was in, and then that'll be a mount for the air intake. Alright, so now that the intake mount is on, I just put this step hose on. You just slide it on with the size 44 clamp there and the size 48 clamp there. And then all you have to do is tighten down the throttle body side, because then you're going to slide on the intake tube on this side. So I'll do that. Alright, so I slid the intake tube on, and I also went ahead and put this vacuum hose on to make sure I didn't slide this in so far that I couldn't slide that vacuum tube on. So that all fits pretty well. Then the next thing is to slide this vacuum hose onto the other end. And then the next thing is to secure the air intake tube to that vibro mount or air intake mount. So I'll do that. Alright, so now I've got the 14mm vacuum hose on with a clamp on that side and just pushed onto this side. So now the next step is to come down here and slide on the filter. Actually, I'm also going to install or slide on this filter guard. It's called a hydro shield, just to protect it from getting water on it or getting water in it. So hopefully it works. I don't know if just having this on here will keep water out of it, but I'm going to slide this on the filter and then clamp the filter onto the intake tube. Alright, so I got the filter onto the intake tube. You can see the filter guard on there, and everything seems to be lining up pretty well. It's on there pretty sturdily. It's not rubbing up against anything as it goes through that hole right there. So installation looks pretty good. And now all I have to do is put everything back together. Alright, so now everything's back on. got the bumper back on and the vents back in. So now I'm just gonna clean it up, and then I'll start it up and make sure everything's tight, and make sure there's no leaks or anything, and also see how it makes it sound.